think that did it. Ready? All righty. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Well, good afternoon, everyone. We're just finishing up day 2 of the Republican State Convention in San Antonio, and I have the honor of being joined by Your Honor, Judge Kevin Yeary of the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals. Judge, welcome to the Texan podcast.
Thank you, Matt. I'm glad to be here, really.
Now, to quickly cover the background of your position, you are one of 9 statewide elected judges on the state's highest criminal court. Could you explain what the difference is between your court and, say, the Texas Supreme Court?
Yes, the Supreme Court of Texas hears only civil cases, and our court hears only criminal cases. And the state has had that system of a divided high court since 1876.
Wow.
Yeah. 1876 is when we created the Constitution that we actually live under today,
yeah.
But we've had quite a number of amendments since that time. And at that time, as I understand it, the Supreme Court of Texas was the only appellate court in Texas, and they needed some help because they were overworked. And so the solution was to create another court to help out, not a lower court for them to review. And so that's when a court got created called the Court of Appeals, initially in 1876. And then 15 years later, when there was a revamping of the judiciary system in Texas, the name of our court was changed to the Court of Criminal Appeals. And we had originally been vested with a little bit of civil jurisdiction in that gestational phase, I guess. But that was taken away at that point, and we were all criminal cases all the time. And we've been that way for now 130-something years. So.
And just like with your sister court, I guess is what y'all refer to the Supreme Court as.
Yes.
Y'all are 9 statewide elected judges that run in partisan primaries to get nominations and then run in the November general elections. And they're staggered out every 2 years. Kind of a fun thing.
Yes,
You're
sir.
not out actually on the ballot this year.
Correct.
But I have noticed as a reporter going out and about the state, going to different functions, I'll turn the corner and there's Judge Yeary. So,
well, you know, one of the differences between Supreme Court of Texas races and races for the Court of Criminal Appeals is that the Supreme Court races are able to raise a lot more money. And so they have the advantage of being able to purchase advertising and things of that nature that I just don't have access to. But I do find that if you get out there on the street and meet the people and talk to them, that can be almost as effective as having a lot of money. And so that's my substitute. I get out there and meet people, drive places, see people, see things, tell people who I am and what I'm here, what I'm all about, and so far they've picked me twice to serve on the court. So I'm in my second term.
And those are 6-year terms.
6-year terms, and I'm 4 years into my second term now.
Oh, wow.
And so I'll be up again in 2026, God willing. So.
All right. Well, you are known at times to take a lone stance in opinions issued by the court. Could you kind of explain your judicial philosophy and what do you view as the proper role of the appeals courts?
Yeah, that's a great question. I
kind of a two-parter.
I do, yeah. Well, our role essentially is to decide the pressing disputes of the day. That's what the appellate courts do. And but my philosophy is important to me, right? And I work on it all the time. I have a list of principles. Don't ask me to rattle them all off right here. They're written down on my desk. But I started with the first day at work. I remember at the Court of Criminal Appeals, I wrote down what I called the 7 principles of judicial restraint. And that first little piece of paper, I have it under the glass on my desk. It's kind of a relic of history, because as I began to work with it, I began to realize that some of them were redundant of others. But now my list is up to 11 principles, and they're much more refined, So I try to follow those principles. My dad used to tell me when I was a kid that everybody has a philosophy, right? And he said sometimes people will say, I don't have a philosophy, but he said even those people do have a philosophy. And so what you should do is embrace a philosophy, and the way you do that is you first steal one from someone else. That's what he said. And I always thought that was funny.
A good starting point.
Exactly. And he said, and then you defend it until you can't. And when you can't, you change it. And then it becomes your philosophy. And so philosophy of life is important to me, probably for that reason. And at the court, I'm working on, maintaining principles so that when I decide cases, my votes are consistent. And And it's not just my heart, changing what's going to happen in every single case depending on how I feel about it. I want my principles to guide me, and that's how I do my job.
So interesting.
Yeah.
So interesting. Now, as we're here at the Republican State Convention, of course, delegates are working on the Republican Party platform. Usually there's always a pretty extensive area of it that covers criminal justice matters. If I understand it correctly, there are some areas where judges can be involved as far as reforms to the judiciary or improvements to access justice. Have you been hearing of anything along those lines come up while you're here as far as improving the justice system, improving access to justice, or is there anything like that that you work on personally that, or is it something that you just completely refrain out of?
Well, what I take very seriously is the idea of separated powers. A long time ago, I heard Justice Scalia giving a talk to the United States Senate and emphasizing how very important that is, the separated powers to the ability of this country to maintain people's freedom. He said in other countries where they don't do that and they allow the concentration of too much power in one group or one person, that even constitutional guarantees are not honored in systems like that. So I'm focused on making sure that I stay in my lane and that I only do the judicial thing. I don't know what God's going to call me to later in my life, but maybe I'll do something different. But for right now, I let other people make those decisions. When I'm writing an opinion or deciding how I'm going to vote on a case, it's very important to me to remember that I'm supposed to be applying the law that's written by other people, not applying the law of Kevin,
Not acting as a legislator, but
Correct.
acting as a judge.
Exactly, yes. It's terribly important to me. I work very hard at it, so.
We've covered quite a few bases. Is there anything that might interconnect between the judiciary and the legislature? I know one of the things we covered last legislative session was the State of the Judiciary Address. Justice Hecht always lays out a number of things that the judiciary is politely asking for, et cetera,
Yes.
pay issues, all of that sort of stuff.
Right.
Is there anything on that front that might be on y'all's radar this go around?
I think all judges in Texas right now are a little bit interested in making sure that judges get compensated well. I think I heard there were some bills in the last legislative session that didn't quite make it to the finish line. And, some of us are disappointed by that. But, I'm in it for the service. I'm in it I love the work, right? So that's why I'm here. So the money isn't really like the deciding factor. At some point it could become that, And I think for some judges it really is. It's a huge question. We've had two former Chief Justices of the Supreme Court of Texas that, as I understand it, one of the reasons that they resigned from those positions is because their kids were getting older. They needed more income to be able to support what was going on. And, I've got kids. We just had a wedding in January for my oldest daughter. So, the temptation to find something that can be more financially rewarding is there.
Sure.
But I really like the work. And so I'm not saying that if they don't give it to us, I'm going to leave. I really love the work, and I'll probably stay. If the good Lord wills it, I'll be doing it. So.
Well, Judge Yeary, it's always a pleasure to see you out and about on the year-round campaign trail and here at State Convention. And we always enjoy visiting with you. And thank you so much for
I appreciate you guys so much, and I wish you really great luck in law school. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I look forward to welcoming you to the bar one day.
Well, I appreciate that. As a matter of fact, I was doing a little bit of looking, and I saw that you were a graduate of St. Mary's.
Yes, I was on the 7-year plan there.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I went to undergrad first.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
okay.
at St. Mary's, and then decided that I didn't think my major was going to get me a job that would pay me enough to have a family and a car and a house. So I stuck around for 3 years of law school, and there you go.
As we were sharing beforehand, I received an admission offer for St. Mary's today after I accepted at Oklahoma City School of Law.
Yeah.
And kind of a fun fact there is Oklahoma is the only other state that has a split Supreme Court system.
Right. That's
they
right.
also
They have
a Court of Criminal Appeals.
Indeed, they do.
Yeah,
That's true.
so-
That's right.
So it's a very similar judicial system to go learn in before I come back to good old Texas.
Yeah. Well, we love Texas, don't we?
Amen.
All right. God
Thanks so
bless
much,
you.
Judge.
Take care. Thanks
Absolutely.
for doing this.